Paul kept on calling, was that up? And he told him, yeah, it was up.
New court documents show that Dwayne P.Diddy Davis says that Combs offered to set up a phone call with Terrence Brown, who was the driver of the car that rolled up next to Shakur and Suge Knight on September 7th, 1996, near the Strip.
P.Diddy, the man arrested for the 1996 murder of Tupac Shakur, has claimed in court documents that P. Diddy had allegedly wanted to set up a phone call with Southside Compton Crip Terrence Brown, who P.Diddy had claimed was the getaway driver of the car, which had carried out the drive-by on Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight in September of 1996. P.Diddy in the court documents had claimed that P. Diddy wanted to schedule a call with Terrence Brown being after the shooting had taken place, in order to get funds to the Southside Compton Crips for carrying out the hit. Audio evidence which was submitted into court in January of 2024 has P.Diddy on tape discussing a phone call he had allegedly have gotten from P. Diddy and Faith Evans following the shooting, where P.Diddy had claimed they had asked, "Was that us?" The audio evidence which is being played against P.Diddy by prosecutors in court implicates P. Diddy in the Tupac murder, with there being over 75 court documents mentioning P. Diddy's name in relation to the murder. In this video, we're going to take a look into the claims listed in the court documents, being of P. Diddy allegedly scheduling a call with the believed getaway driver of the Tupac murder. Terrence Brown, also known as T Brown and Bubble Up, was a member of the Southside Compton Crips. The Southside Compton Crips are a street gang from Compton, Los Angeles, who had gained notoriety in 1996 after they were accused of murdering Tupac Shakur. Southside Compton Crip shot caller P.Diddy had been set up in a sting operation by a government task force in 2008, where he had then been given partial immunity to discuss the unsolved crimes of Tupac and Biggie. P.Diddy was secretly recorded and it claimed that Terrence Brown was allegedly the driver of the car which had carried out the fatal drive-by on Tupac. LAPD detective Greg Kading released a documentary called Murder Rap in 2015, which had contained segments of the confession audio which P.Diddy had made to the task force. P.Diddy claimed in the audio that Terrence Brown had rented a white late model 4-door Cadillac being under his mother-in-law's name. A Southside Crip informant who had featured in the documentary Murder Rap had claimed that P.Diddy would always rent vehicles under other people's names just in case they had been used in crimes. P.Diddy claimed Southside Crips Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith, and his nephew Orlando Anderson had drove up in a white Cadillac to Las Vegas on September 7, 1996 in order to meet him there. P.Diddy claimed they had travelled to Las Vegas to watch a Mike Tyson fight in the MGM Grand after getting tickets from a scalper. After the fight, Orlando Anderson had been jumped by Tupac and Suge Knight along with an entourage of Compton MOB Bloods, being in the MGM Grand lobby. P.Diddy claimed that while he was at a cafe, an LA 118 East Coast Block Crip had came and informed him about Orlando Anderson being jumped. An LA Times report claimed that the Southside Compton Crips are on camera at the Treasure Island Hotel following the fight in the MGM Grand, being seen collecting the white Cadillac from valet parking, before taking off to travel to a nightclub called Club 662 in an attempt to try and find Tupac and Suge Knight. Club 662 was a club which Suge Knight had invested in, which was holding an event on a night which had been promoted on the radio, which had then made the Crips aware of their location. P.Diddy had claimed a 2-car convoy had travelled to Club 662, with one being a van and the other being the white Cadillac. P.Diddy claimed he rode in the van with Las Vegas associates, Southside Compton Crip Corey Edwards, and affiliates of BMF from Detroit. The white Cadillac contained the remaining Southsiders being Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith and Orlando Anderson. P.Diddy claimed his Las Vegas associates had 3 machine guns on them while himself had a Glock when they were pulling up to Club 662. James McDonald, known as Mob James, who was a Compton mob pyro, had been providing security outside the 662 club and had claimed to have seen the convoy roll up, including the white Cadillac. P.Diddy had claimed after waiting for around an hour with no show of Tupac and Suge Knight, the convoy had then drove to the liquor barn. P.Diddy at the liquor barn claimed that the van had left as Corey Edwards had been complaining that Suge Knight had police killing people for him, therefore had chickened out, so P.Diddy had got into the Cadillac with the remaining Crips. Terrence Brown, while driving the Cadillac when leaving the liquor barn, had drove up to the Las Vegas Strip and had seen an oncoming BMW containing Tupac and Suge Knight, which had Tupac hanging out of the sunroof. P.Diddy claimed they were able to identify them from Tupac hanging out of the sunroof while talking to 4 women who were in a Chrysler Sebring convertible. P.Diddy claimed Terrence Brown then done a U-turn and they had rolled up to the side of the BMW and carried out a drive-by. The women in the Sebring had made statements to the police, with their reports describing the shooter's vehicle as either a white Lincoln Continental or Cadillac with Nevada plates, containing 4 passengers. They had also claimed that it was the driver who had carried out the shooting. Malcolm Greenridge, known by his stage name Idi Amin, who was in the car behind Tupac's, had described 2 black males within the car, with the shooter wearing a short-sleeved shirt. Yafu Fula, known by his stage name of Gaddafi, who was also in the car behind the BMW, had made statements to Las Vegas police, where he had described a white new model 4-door Cadillac. Yafu Fula described the Cadillac as containing 4 African-American males, and had described the driver as a light-skinned, bald male with a little moustache wearing a white hat. He had claimed it was either the driver shooting or someone from the back seat shooting out the driver's front window. This photo shows the Southside Compton Crips, including those who were in Las Vegas, which shows Terrence Brown in a white hat and P.Diddy in a suit. In P.Diddy's 2019 book, Compton Street Legend, he had claimed that he was wearing a suit when the shooting was carried out. Suge Knight associate Alton McDonald, known as Buntree, who was a Compton mob Pyru travelling in the convoy, had chased after the Cadillac and returned fire following the drive-by. Documents reveal Alton McDonald's car was struck by bullets, with P.Diddy claiming they had fired back from the Cadillac, and the women in the Sebring had got caught in the middle of the crossfire. P.Diddy claimed Terrence Brown had drove the Cadillac to the parking lot near the Carriage House Hotel, where the car had been dropped off and the Glock was placed on the front wheel tire. The following day, P.Diddy drove back to Los Angeles in a Buick Century, while the Crips recovered the Glock from the Cadillac tire, and they cleared out the car to remove the shell casings, with it then being drove back to Compton. Orlando Anderson and DeAndre Smith were reported to have been driving the Cadillac around Compton and had been bragging about the shooting prior to returning the car to the renter company. The murder weapon was believed to have been given to Corey Edwards, who was then believed to have buried it in the backyard of his girlfriend's house in Compton. Orlando Anderson had been shot and killed in 1998. Terrence Brown was shot and killed in 2015. And investigators placed a security hold on the case, meaning certain information surrounding the crime cannot be released to the public. Although this information has been put forward by former members of the LAPD, Las Vegas police detective Clifford Mogg had claimed in his grand jury testimony in the P.Diddy case, quote, "We were never able to identify the person who rented the car, where it was rented from, and then when it comes to the gun, we have never recovered it as of this date, the weapon that was used in the murder," unquote. There has been much speculation as to who had pulled the trigger within the white Cadillac. Multiple people who were on the scene have given different accounts of the shooter, including Suge Knight and Gaddafi. Gaddafi simply said in his police statement that it was a dark-skinned arm which had carried out the shooting, being with an automatic pistol. Both Gaddafi and the women in the Sebring had claimed that the shots had came from out the driver's front window. Tupac's bodyguard Frank Alexander, who was driving in the car with Gaddafi and Idi Amin, had described in his police report how the shots had came from the driver's front window. P.Diddy, in his recorded confession, which has been submitted into court as evidence, claimed that he had the weapon on him and had turned around in an attempt to give it to DeAndre Smith, but DeAndre Smith refused to take the weapon and Orlando Anderson had grabbed it instead and carried out the shooting. P.Diddy claimed the backseat window was then rolled down and Orlando Anderson leaned across DeAndre Smith to carry out the drive-by. P.Diddy had claimed the first bullet fired had grazed Suge Knight's head. Suge Knight, in 2 separate prison interviews, has claimed that Orlando Anderson was not the shooter. Suge Knight first made these claims in a 2018 prison interview with author Michael Douglas Carlin.
And and the sad thing about it, Orlando wasn't even the shooter,
No, exactly. No.
And it's sensitive, not at all. He was actually a good kid too,
Yeah.
Suge Knight was interviewed by TMZ in October of 2023, being after P.Diddy was arrested for Tupac's murder, where he had once again claimed that Orlando Anderson was not the shooter.
P.Diddy was in the car with his nephew, and that presumably his nephew is the one that shot Tupac. Is that correct?
No.
Then who shot Tupac?
It wasn't Anderson, so that's all I got to say about that part.
You are saying Orlando was not the shooter. Do I have that right?
1,000%.
Police reports released in a documentary Murder App describe how informants had witnessed DeAndre Smith while driving in the white Cadillac bragging about the shooting when they were back in Compton, claiming he had let off on Tupac and Suge Knight. In the court case of Keefe D, Donvonta Lee, who was a prior associate of Keefe D, and was DeAndre Smith's former roommate, had testified for the grand jury in the case where he had claimed that Orlando Anderson was not the shooter, but it was DeAndre Smith instead. Orlando Anderson's shoulder was dislocated from an incident in a lobby, which medical reports show he had gotten treatment for, with some arguing this factor would inhibit him from being able to withstand the kickback of the weapon. Donvonta Lee, who had testified to the grand jury about the conversations they had had with DeAndre Smith, had testified in court that Orlando Anderson tried reaching over DeAndre Smith but couldn't get a clear shot. Therefore, DeAndre Smith had taken the gun and carried out the shooting, but allowed Orlando Anderson to take credit for it. Keefe D, before being arrested while being interviewed by the YouTube channel The Art of Dialogue, had been asked about the claims circulating that DeAndre Smith was the real shooter, to which Keefe D had replied, "Are you trying to get me arrested?" as he was under the belief that he would only go to prison if he was found lying to what he had said in a recorded tape. Donvonta Lee in his grand jury testimony had said, quote, "Keefe is the one who's going to make all of the arrangements and all of the plans until that gun is into somebody else's hands." Unquote. Other speculation caused by Suge Knight in his 2018 prison interview hints that the Crips didn't carry out the shooting, although Keefe D admitted to it. Suge Knight in his 2018 prison interview with author Michael Douglas Carlin, when claiming Orlando Anderson was not the shooter, had claimed instead that allegedly LAPD Rampart cop Rafael Perez was involved.
Perez and them was all involved. They were trying to kill me too.
Due to the eyewitness testimony claiming the shots came from the driver's front window, and Suge Knight claiming Orlando Anderson was not the shooter, there has been much speculation about who the shooter may have been within the Cadillac, with court witnesses now claiming it was DeAndre Smith. Keefe D, in audio evidence submitted against him, claimed that the hit had been carried out under the intention of claiming $1 million bounty from P.Diddy. The Murder Rap documentary cites a confidential informant revealing how there had been an outstanding $1 million bounty from P.Diddy to the Southside Compton Crips to take care of Tupac and Suge Knight. Keefe D, in his recorded confession tape, claimed that in the summer of 1996, after a year of providing enforcement for P. Diddy and his label Bad Boy Records while they were on the West Coast, P. Diddy had allegedly arranged $1 million contract given to Keefe D, being in the downstairs area of the Greenblatt's Deli in Los Angeles, with the contract being put on the heads of Tupac and Suge Knight.
He put a hit out on Pac for $1 million. Not just Pac, on Suge too.
Keefe D, who had claimed to have met P. Diddy through a New York hustler called Zip in either 1991 or 92, had mentioned in his recorded audio confession that by 1995, P. Diddy had begun providing the Southside Compton Crips with tickets to shows in Los Angeles to use them as enforcement. Keefe D in later interviews had claimed that he felt as if P. Diddy was playing the Bloods and Crips against each other, as he had been using the Crips to avoid issues with Suge Knight's Bloods. Suge Knight was affiliated with the Compton MOB Pyrus, which didn't have a particular beef with the Southside Compton Crips until a feud between Suge Knight and P. Diddy had started. Suge Knight, while dressed in blood colors and accepting an award at the 1995 Source Awards taking place in Madison Square Garden, had dissed P. Diddy on his home turf of New York for trying to take the spotlight in Biggie's videos and songs. Nate Dogg, who was there with Suge Knight, revealed how the East Coast crowd had booed so loudly that he could feel it echoing throughout his chest. Suge Knight, while on stage, also gave a shout out to Tupac, who was imprisoned from a case on the East Coast, which Tupac had believed was set up by an extortionist who was trying to get him to sign to P. Diddy's label Bad Boy while he was filming for Above the Rim in Harlem. Suge Knight had helped out Tupac financially during this time by giving him an album's budget for a single unreleased song, which was going to be used for a soundtrack. Tupac was then shot 5 times in quad recording studio while Biggie and P. Diddy were upstairs, after Tupac had been set up by Jimmy henchmen, with Tupac alluding in an interview that P. Diddy was being extorted by henchmen. Tupac was then at war with Biggie and P. Diddy following the shooting, as he had felt as if they knew he was going to be set up. Suge Knight gave a shout out to Tupac at the Source Awards, as he had already had his lawyer to begin with working on an appeal to have Tupac released from prison and create music with Suge Knight's label Death Row Records. P. Diddy's gang-affiliated animosity towards Suge Knight had drawn blood a month after the Source Awards diss. The murder rap documentary revealed police reports from Deputy C.J. Howard, who had identified Southside Compton Crips Orlando Anderson and Corey Edwards as being with P. Diddy at the Platinum House Club in Atlanta at Jermaine Dupri's birthday party in September of '95. Suge Knight had been at the party with Compton Campanella Park Pyru Jake Robles. Suge Knight and Jake Robles had gotten into a confrontation with P. Diddy and East Coast affiliates, which resulted in the unsolved shooting murder of Jake Robles. The police reports from the off-duty deputy had claimed that Orlando Anderson had been wearing blue and had words with Suge Knight's entourage during the confrontation. Tupac was released from prison under the appeal of Suge Knight's attorney 3 weeks after the Jake Robles murder. Tupac had flown out Biggie's wife Faith Evans to Los Angeles to record for his album All Eyes on Me, where numerous witnesses claim he had taken her back to his hotel room. Suge Knight claimed to have gotten with P. Diddy's baby mother Misa Houghton and had starred in an unreleased magazine cover with her and P. Diddy's son, with the headline reading, "What the East Coast won't take care of, the West Coast will." P. Diddy had been shown the magazine and strings were pulled to make sure that it was not released, and he also didn't clear Faith Evans' vocals to be used on the album. Biggie and P. Diddy performed in Anaheim, California in November of 1995, and Keefe D had claimed P. Diddy had given the Southside Compton Crips around 30 tickets to provide assistance at the show. Keefe D, in an audio tape being used against him in court, alleged that P. Diddy, for the first time while in a hotel room after party being full of Crips, had, according to Keefe D, said he would give anything for those dudes' heads, meaning Tupac and Suge Knight. On December 16th, 1995, Death Row artist Snoop Dogg and the Dogg Pound had been in New York recording a music video for their song New York, New York. While they were there, Biggie had gone on the radio and gave out their location, leading to their trailer being shot up. This then made Snoop Dogg and the Dogg Pound change the music video to them knocking down buildings in New York. Suge Knight, a few days after this, was hosting a Christmas party in the Hollywood Hills, where himself, Tupac and others had locked a producer associated to P. Diddy inside a room, where not only was he beaten with champagne bottles, but Suge Knight also forced him to drink his urine out of a champagne glass. They were trying to force the producer into giving over P. Diddy's family's addresses in Los Angeles. Biggie's group Junior Mafia released a song called Get Money featuring Biggie, with the song's music video premiering in January of 1996. The beat for the song originally belonged to Death Row Records, which Tupac had previewed to Faith Evans, who was then believed to have told Biggie about it when returning to New York, with the concept of the song then being stolen.
Hit him up, track was playing. Wasn't one to hit him up. I think it was Faith that went and told him that Pac was doing that track and he was putting some lyrics to it. So before we can finish that track, they beat us to it.
Keefe D had protected Biggie and P. Diddy from Suge Knight's Pyrus in March of 1996, after Suge Knight had created a plot for the Pyrus to pull Biggie off of the stage at the 1996 Soul Train Music Awards, being held in a Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles. Suge Knight had assembled upward of 30 Pyrus wearing matching P-Funk shirts representing Pyru, which Suge Knight was also wearing, and had instructed them to storm the stage when Biggie was accepting an award to rush him and pull him off of the stage. Keefe D was providing security for the venue, and Death Row Records head of security, former Compton cop Reggie Wright Jr., had alerted Keefe D of the plan, so Keefe D limited the Pyrus at the entrance of the venue, not allowing the plot to take place. P. Diddy's bodyguard Gene Deal had claimed that while backstage and walking through a corridor, they had seen Tupac and Suge Knight approaching, to which P. Diddy had ran away into a backstage outdoor area. Outside the Shrine Auditorium, Biggie's friend C. Gutter had then pulled a gun on Tupac and Suge Knight, and the Fruits of Islam security service had stepped in and broke up the situation. Gene Deal claimed that after returning to where they were staying at, he had been on the phone with someone and had told them how P. Diddy had ran, with P. Diddy telling Gene he should have told them he took a left. Gene Deal claimed that P. Diddy, then feeling embarrassed, had an outburst where he said he didn't care if Tupac and Biggie had to die or if Suge Knight had to go to jail, but things had to change. Tupac released the Biggie and P. Diddy diss track Hit 'Em Up in June of 1996, where he had featured impersonators in the video and had made it public with the claims that he'd gotten with Biggie's wife. The beat used was the original Get Money before it had been stolen, believed to have been through Faith Evans, then used by Junior Mafia. On the streets of Compton, a rumor had started that P. Diddy was offering $5,000 for death row chains, which led to Orlando Anderson, Devonta Lee, and other Southside Compton Crips to try and rob Suge Knight affiliate Compton mob Pyru Trayvon Lane for his Death Row Records chain in the Lakewood Mall in California. Keefe D claimed in his recorded confession submitted into evidence against him that New York associate Zip, who had introduced him to P. Diddy, had allegedly invited him to meet P. Diddy at the Greenblatt Deli in Los Angeles during the summer of 1996. Keefe D claimed it was while there where P. Diddy had allegedly put out $1 million contract to the Southside Compton Crips on the heads of Tupac and Suge Knight. Orlando Anderson was then attacked by Tupac and Suge Knight along with the MOB Pyrus in the MGM Grand Lobby, as Trayvon Lane, who had had his chain snatched, had made them aware that it was the Crip who messes with P. Diddy that tried to take the chain. The Murder Rap documentary cites a 1997 informant who claimed the Crips' original plan was to carry out the hit at the 662 Club, which was being promoted on the radio as where Tupac and Suge Knight were going to be at. Keefe D claimed in a 2021 interview with YouTube channel The Art of Dialogue that they were lucky that the Crips had left Club 662's parking lot before Tupac and Suge Knight arrived, as Keefe claimed the Crips and associates had 3 machine guns and a Glock as weaponry, with Keefe D claiming it would have been a bloodbath. The hit was then carried out, and Keefe D claimed in the aftermath when returning to Los Angeles, P. Diddy had called him to confirm the hit. Keefe D in his recorded confession had claimed that after returning to Los Angeles following the shooting, Zip had called him and invited him to a hot wings restaurant on Melrose. Keefe D claimed when he arrived, Zip had given him a phone to talk to P. Diddy and confirm the hit. Keefe D had claimed in the audio that P. Diddy had asked was that us, and Keefe D had confirmed that it was. Keefe D had also claimed that Faith Evans had also called Zip to talk about the shooting. Keefe D claimed in the audio that he had been told by Zip that he would be giving him the money for the $1 million bounty. Keefe D in new court documents claimed that P. Diddy had allegedly additionally scheduled a call with the driver of the Cadillac, Terrence Brown, to give more information about the payment, with the eyewitness reports claiming that the shots came from the driver's front window. Some speculate P. Diddy may have believed Terrence Brown was the shooter and therefore wanted to schedule a call with him. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Deal was claimed in several different interviews, with the most prominent being the Vlad TV interview, to have seen what he believes was the $1 million check acting as the bounty for the Tupac hit, which he had claimed Jimmy Henchman had given to Zip for Zip to then give it to the Southside Compton Crips for his affiliation. The check was claimed to have been disguised to be laundered under a managing check for artist Tank from Blackground Records of Barry Hankerson, with the money really have meant to have been set to go to the Southside Compton Crips from Jimmy Henchman, being as a payment for murdering Tupac. The information would allude that P. Diddy's connection into the Southside Compton Crips through Zip had been used by Jimmy Henchman to set up a secondary hit on Tupac following the 1994 shooting. Keefe D claimed while he was in prison for an unrelated matter in 1998, the FBI had interrogated him and told him that they had tracked the check and found out that Zip had used it to buy a nightclub called the Zip Code. The nightclub was located on 2207 Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard, which is now a vacant church. Keefe D claimed the FBI had made him aware that the financial records of the purchase of the club traces back to the check from Jimmy Henchman which was given to Zip, which was allegedly initially the $1 million bounty for Tupac's life to the Southside Compton Crips. 6 months after Tupac was murdered, Keefe D had seen P. Diddy and Biggie at a Vibe magazine after party, which was taking place in the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles. Keefe D claimed to Greg Kading in his audio tape that P. Diddy had told him to stay at a distance when greeting him at the party, as he had told Keefe D that the feds were all over him. These are secret surveillance photos taken by the feds earlier on in the day before seeing Keefe D at the party, as Biggie and Bad Boy Records were under federal investigation for several crimes. Biggie had been murdered following the party, and the very first suspects in the media were the Southside Compton Crips. The $1 million bounty was made public in the media following the death of Biggie, as the Southside Compton Crips were initially blamed for the murder being due to an unpaid debt. These claims were touched on in the book Bad Boy: The Influence of Sean Puffy Combs on the Music Industry. The book, when talking about the day before the shooting, reads, quote, Biggie reportedly travelled with Southside Crips to a Compton park in a basketball tournament. That afternoon, some Southside Compton Crips reportedly warned Biggie about an older member upset with him over an unpaid debt. Unquote. Former Compton cops Reggie Wright Sr., Fred Reynolds and Robert Ladd had revealed more information about this in a Vlad TV video. The cops revealed that Biggie had gone to South Park in Compton the day before being murdered, as it was a place he would go to hang out with Southside Compton Crips. A public bathroom in the park during the time had Biggie Smalls tagged on the building, according to the cops. South Park is a park which is claimed by the Southside Compton Crips, which is also notorious for homicides. Biggie was known to hang out with the Boris Block Compton Crips, which were a subset of the Southside Compton Crips, who were posted up on Boris Avenue in Compton, where Biggie had been identified as hanging out at by Crips in a YouTube video for Channel Street TV. The Boris Block Compton Crips were so close to the Tupac and Biggie beef that their entire set had renamed their territory due to P. Diddy's alleged hit on Tupac. After Tupac was murdered, the Crips renamed the territory to Boris Lane, being after Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, who Keefe D had claimed in his recorded confession had allegedly carried out the hit in a contract by P. Diddy. Keefe D had also claimed that P. Diddy would hook up with the Southside Compton Crips hood rats, as he had claimed that P. Diddy was on a date with one at the Greenblatt's Deli when the alleged contract was given to the Southside Compton Crips. The first report of the Crips murdering Biggie was from LA Times reporter Chuck Phillips, being 9 days after the Biggie shooting. The article read, quote, although the primary suspect in the killing is a member of a set of Crips, he was believed to be acting over a personal financial dispute. Unquote. Greg Kading saw Keefe D as a person of interest in the Biggie Smalls murder, being due to the reports and connections he was believed to have into P. Diddy, which then led to him setting up Keefe D to then achieve the audio tape where Keefe D denied having anything to do with Biggie's death, but had made the omission of Tupac's. Kading's task force was put into operation by the US government after LAPD officers, who were also Blood gang members, were blamed for Biggie's murder. It was these same officers Suge Knight claimed in his 2018 interview were allegedly involved in the plot against him and Tupac.
Perez and them was all involved. They were trying to kill me too.
Biggie's family sued the LAPD for $500 million, and Greg Kading's task force was headed to find a counter theory of the LAPD, and it claimed a Compton MOB Pyru called Wardell Poochie Faust, acting as a hitman for Suge Knight, had carried out the murder, which would further expand the Bloods vs Crips beef theory. P. Diddy in 1997, following the death of Biggie, and the immediate reports in the media claiming Crips were involved due to an unpaid debt, had been interviewed by MTV News, where he was asked about hiring the Southside Compton Crips for security.
We've never hired Crips or any other gang faction to do security for us.
P. Diddy denied ever hiring the Southside Compton Crips to officially act as security, which technically is true, as he had never financially paid them to provide security, as according to the accounts he had just comped them with tickets to shows so there would be a large show of force in case of the Bloods turning up. The murder rap documentary included several police interviews with Junior Mafia artist Lil C's, along with P. Diddy's bodyguard Gene Dill, who had both confirmed seeing Keefe D and the Southside Compton Crips with P. Diddy. After the documentary was released in 2015, which had Keefe D implicating P. Diddy in the murder of Tupac, P. Diddy had been questioned about the documentary on the Breakfast Club radio show, but he had called it nonsense and didn't entertain the question.
Yo, did you hire somebody to kill Pac? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah, no, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
P. Diddy is now surfacing in the Keefe D court case, as court documents have mentioned him 75 times in relation to the murder, and not only evidence submitted in the case, but new court documents cite 2 different phone calls made to Keefe D and one scheduled to Terrence Brown to allegedly talk about the bounty for taking out Tupac. In this video, we took a look into the information regarding an alleged phone call which Keefe D has claimed in court documents was set to have been scheduled between P. Diddy and Southside Compton Crip Terrence Brown. Terrence Brown, who was killed in an unsolved murder in 2015, had, according to Keefe D, have been the driver of the white Cadillac, which had carried out the drive-by which resulted in Tupac dying. In the audio evidence submitted against P.Diddy had claimed they had done it under $1 million contract by P. Diddy and had a phone call with P. Diddy following the shooting to confirm it was them. With P. Diddy's name now being mentioned over 75 times in court documents relating to the murder, we will have to wait and see if he gets brought into the trial, which is scheduled in November of 2024. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, smash the thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and press that bell button so you can get all the future notifications for when I upload. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.